Cycles has always been my favorite brand since I got into the sport in 2008. If you had a Mojo, an Ibis Mojo in 2008, that bike was years better than literally any other bike you could have gotten on the market, say, except maybe a Turner that shared the same suspension platform. But yeah, it was like revolutionary. And if you go back, you look at the Ibis Mojo that came out in 2005, 2004, the influence of that full suspension design that their designer engineered, it's still in modern mountain bikes today. You can still see that like blueprint of this kind of silhouette, smooth lines bike. And it was just, it's the perfect combination of looks and utility. It's just, Ibis makes great bikes. I love them. And the coolest thing about Ibis is it's a pretty large bike company for what it is, but they don't have investors. They have 5 owners, and the owners, they help run the business. So instead of having private equity that like blows up a brand and then crashes it down like we've seen so often in the last few years, they get to make the decisions, and the decisions they make are not as motivated as purely for the shareholders as for the brand itself and its long-term viability. So you see, they didn't just rush out and make an e-bike. They took their time and realized what was the best e-bike they could possibly make. And if you were around in cycling in the early 2010s, everyone was yelling at them to make a 29-inch mountain bike. And their Ripley, they said it's coming soon, but it took years and years for them to come out with their 29-inch full suspension Ripley. And that's because they wanted to get it down right. They don't come out with a product that's not completely perfect. I love every Ibis bike I've I test ride when I'm out fixing. Their bikes are engineered just, there's no carbon full suspension brand, I believe, that makes a bike as well as Ibis makes it. And let me show you something real quick. So when I buy a full suspension, I make sure I have extra parts for it. Look at the book. Look at the book. They give you a spiral bound book with your bike. Look at that. Just great designing. Look at this spiral bound book they give. It gives out all the little details to the parts. If you were to buy, say, like a Scott, and you wanted to find out these graphs, it's like a pain in the butt to find on their website. If you need anything on an Ibis bike from, 5 years ago to 20 years ago, even I had a 2006 Ibis Mojo and it needed a new shock bolt. And it said they were out of them. I called them, I contacted them, and they said, actually, we have one. We can send it out to you for so-and-so money. The coolest thing about Ibis is they don't try to hide their old models. Like if you go onto their website and you need a bushing or something on your bike, the past models page is really easy to find, and you can find these parts. So they're not just making a bike to last for 4 years, which is a whole other rant I have with German brands. They have a leasing program in Germany, and their bikes are literally only designed to last for 4 years for when the lease is up. They're kind of like Nissan cars. Ibis makes a bike to last for a decade or two. It's a really good product. And then also, if you need Ibis Mojo 4, suspension pivot points, they use bushings, not bearings. So these little plastic pieces, they're a lot easier to replace. A bearing is not quite what a bike frame should always use. I mean, some parts of the frame should use bearings, but a bushing works really well because a lot of these suspension points, you're only rotating just a tiny bit. And bushings are a lot easier to replace for a customer too. So you can go online, you can buy bushings for your Ibis Ripley from 10 years ago. It's easily found. There is no other mountain bike brand that you can go on their website and you can find parts as easy as the Ibis Cycles website. And that's kind of why they're my favorite brand. There is other brands that do this. there's other brands that I think are really great, like Intense, and there's a few others, but the gold standard for standing behind their product for, you know, decade or two past purchase is Ibis Cycles. And I think, I'm not a business person, I just run this little mobile shop, but I think what sets them apart is them being privately owned by people who have run the company or are running the company day to day. So they're making decisions that they want to deal with on their work day basis. They're not making decisions for a shareholders, or they're making decisions for themselves and their customers, which I think sets them apart a lot. And you know, you can go online these days, you can go on Alibaba, you can buy a Santa Cruz copycat frame. Trying to see what other parts I have for this. Yeah, I have some more little suspension pivot points. You can go online and you can buy a Santa Cruz copycat frame off AliExpress. And you know, I'm not quite sure those bikes are going to be the same level standard of quality that you'd get from Santa Cruz. If you want to get a steel frame or a custom titanium frame, I'm sure the quality is almost there as if you were to buy it from another brand. But carbon and the full suspension and all the little pivot points, if you're going to spend the money to get a carbon bike, I would say try to get an Ibis versus a Giant or a Commensal or like all these other brands. They're priced competitively. They've been around forever. I forgot his name, but I remember when I was first getting into cycling, I saw in like Pink Bike, there was this news article. He was talking about starting Ibis Bicycles. It had gone bankrupt and he bought it back. But this guy, I think his name's Heinz Helm or something, he helped start Santa Cruz Bicycles in the 90s, and they kind of did like you know, the Facebook, what was that movie? The Social Network movie where they diluted this guy's shares to be nothing. They like diluted his shares in Santa Cruz. He was supposed to be part ownership. They diluted him, they sold out his shares from under him. He put in like half a decade worth of work to build up Santa Cruz to where it could be today, and they just shafted him. And after he got shafted, he bought Ibis Bicycles from bankruptcy and started from scratch basically with the Ibis Mojo. And that Ibis Mojo, I mean, there's no bike that's coming out today that is literally years ahead in technology. Like if you bought an Ibis Mojo in 2008, or you bought a Trek full suspension in 2008, the Ibis Mojo was so unbelievably better. It was just an exciting time for mountain biking. Yeah, I remember working for 2 months straight, just trying to earn my Ibis Mojo. And then I worked at a scout camp to get the rest of the money. And I was just super happy with it. And so this is the Ibis Mojo 4. I had this bike for 4 years since it came out. I just sold it, but this is my wife's Ibis Mojo extra small, and she has a ton of fun with it. I love 27.5 wheels, and I wish they still made 27.5 wheels. But the new Ripley, you can do a 27.5 rear wheel on it, so it's almost a Mojo. I wonder. It comes with a 150 or 140 fork. I wonder if you put an extra 10 millimeters of travel on the front, if you could get away with running a 27.5 front wheel. But the bottom bracket is really low on that frame, so I don't know if it would handle a 27.5 front wheel. But that's kind of a bike I've been eyeing if I ever want to go all out again and buy a bike that's worth over $5,000 again. I'd probably buy that one. But yeah, Ibis Cycles. Go to their website, navigate it. You can see how easy it is to find their past models, and you can go to their storefront and you can see how easy it is to buy all the parts you would need for a bike you bought 10 years ago. Try that out with Scott or Giant or whatever, and that should be the selling point. You know, if you're buying a full suspension carbon bike, you're already spending a lot of money. You can find Ibis bikes for good deals, but also they're priced about the same. I think anyone who spends a lot of money and buys a full suspension, I think they're crazy if they don't get an Ibis, honestly. But yeah, there is good. Like right now I'm riding an Intense full suspension bike. which is a great value. It's one of their like Costco line bikes, and that's a great bike too, but the price was a little bit better than the Ibis. So if you're worried about price, there is good options there. But if you're just looking at getting the best bike possible, I would definitely recommend Ibis. And yeah, that's my Ibis love rant. Have fun, everybody.